Well guys, this is the beginning of the cat truck. Was working on large cat here, got the undercarriage done on it. I still got to grease the holder assembly, and I want to pull the plugs on the finals and make sure they got plenty of oil in them. But I got the undercarriage done, and then I adjusted the brakes and the steering clutches. And I think Joe's cat needs steering clutches adjusted on it too. And the clutch, I was talking to Tony down there, and I said, man, this thing takes off moving with the clutch released all the way forward. And if you got the main box in gear and you got either the Johnson bar, either forward or reverse, it'll take off moving with the clutch released. That ain't right. I don't care. You know, I was telling old Tony about that. I worked for an outfit for a lot of years, and we had, I don't remember how many of those things we had. We had 20 of them or something like that we pulled our harvesters with. And all the years that I was around them, I never saw one do that. I said, man, something is out of adjustment. Something ain't right. So that's something that needs to be looked at on his. That just isn't right. They told me, oh, it does that when it's cold. Well, we've had some of those that the clutches didn't, when the oil was cold, it didn't work quite right. You know, the clutch brake and stuff on it, but it didn't take off moving on you. That's kind of dangerous, actually. Shit like that. So we gotta pull that forward plate out of that one and look that one over real close and see what's going on. Let's see here, this little brace here. Just gonna pull the bumper off this thing. Lay those there, and I'll have to throw them back in the bracket holes. I got the wires unplugged. I couldn't get in there like I wanted to. I'm going to have to get this bumper off. I should have done that first, but this is the first go around I've ever had with any cat truck, so I think cat loves using 16 millimeter and 18 millimeter on stuff. John Deere likes 15 millimeter on stuff. That's exactly what I thought, 18. Let me get something to set this camera on while I work. Hang on a minute. We'll set you on the 6170M. It looks like it's going to need an engine rebuild. It's got blow-by really bad. Those turkeys put a nut back there behind it. Yep, lock nuts too. Let me go get an 18 millimeter end wrench. Darn it. Yeah, this bumper's a dandy deal. I took the other side off. This piece, when you take these bolts out, this corner piece comes off separately. It'll be fun putting it back together. Been a nice truck, but this would have been an awesome truck with a C15. Just a C15 in it. Get International involved in something and it all goes to shit. Haven't been impressed with anything that. The last good engine that International made was the DT466 mechanical, and that was the last one. Everything after that's just been shit. They had that deal going with Ford, making pickup engines. That's probably the only thing that kept them afloat for a long time. Surprised they're not bankrupt, I really am. Oh, I see how. I could have left the two outside ones in there. I see how it works now. So let me just take one bolt and put it back on the. That way I can keep this section together, maybe. Yeah, I should have just took the two inside ones loose. That's all they had holding it onto the. I see now. Oh well, learning lesson. You know, all that Huey bullshit that International came out with, I mean, all and then Power Strokes and all that, what a piece of shit those things are. I got them, I own them, I know. Damn it, my pallet's in the way. Well, that's not good. Damn it. I might be able to. Oh, I got it. I got it. I think I was going to get it out of there. Kind of a light duty, flimsy piece of shit. Okay, how the hell do you get this hood off now? Interesting. Very interesting. I think that whole bracket comes out of there, I think. Okay, let's see if we can back away from it without dropping the hood. We're going to drain the coolant on this and pull this radiator assembly out and start pulling this engine. This is going to be, I don't know, man, this is kind of a special looking. Not sure what I'm going to do here. See, International's always got to do stuff different. Their front motor mounts, you know, they got to do everything different than Cat or anyone else. I might get lucky. And this front mount that mounts to this cross member might mount. It just might mount to the B model. So we might get lucky there. I don't think as far as getting this engine in this one and put into place is going to be as difficult as the ones I've done in the past, because my thinking on this deal is. This is basically a, you know, here they got C15. This is called a CT15. So the block should be pretty much the same mounting wise and stuff as the B model. A lot of that, I mean, E model, B model, C model was the same. You know, you can even see the same kind of front round, what I called the peanut cover, over the top of the International's deal here. So I don't know, we'll see what we get into once we get this shit here out of the way. So I'm trying to figure out what I kind of wanted to pull this whole assembly as a unit and just save myself some time and set it aside for now. What am I gonna do here? Would it be okay? It comes out there. I mean, it's, I guess the easiest thing to do is pull this nipple down here. Let's see if we can get it off here, and then get the upper radiator hose off, and then I think pull the mounts loose. Oh, I gotta get the braces loose on each side, and then pull the mounts, and then maybe I can lean it forward enough to get it past the fan. Or can I with this shit here on here? Kind of have to want to keep this intact if I can. I might be reusing this setup, you know. We'll see what happens, but so I don't want to cannibalize it to where it doesn't work, because anytime you're doing one of these kind of retrofit projects, you want to try to utilize anything you can. You don't want to ruin anything. You don't want to act like the wrecking yards and just get your dikes out and start cutting stuff. Okay. Oh, so I wanted to go over something with you. There was a kid named Andrew on the last video on the 14A road grader, and he was curious about how he could get into an apprenticeship doing heavy equipment work. That's a really tough question, Andrew. Here's the problem. With the kids that are running around, and I'm not saying you might be different. You might be the few and far between person that might be actually a good guy and actually wants to work. But with the experience that I've just had, to see the first guy, I talked to him for like 6 or 8 months, and he was going to come work for me, and then he stood me up right at the last minute. You know, within a week of him supposed to be there, he stood me up. So that was one of those young guys, and couldn't even call me and tell me, that wasn't man enough to even say that, had to text me and tell me that he wasn't going to work for me. And then this other kid that I hired, you know, 2 months of just wasted time, basically. You know, not showing up on time, not trying to always leave early. You know, I don't want to run him down, but that's just the truth, you know. And so what happens, Andrew, is a lot of employers are going through this right now. There's a whole lot of people. You got to understand. Hold on, here comes a train. Well, I'll try to talk through it. But you have to understand our perspective. We're really apprehensive about taking anyone on because it's such a huge investment in money and time, and the investment's not been paying off, you know. So it's a tough deal to say. I don't know what the right answer to give you is. Hang on a minute. But we got one more blast of his horn there. But you know, I would be, if you were around here, there's such a huge lack of help. I had a guy call me yesterday that was broke down in Dorse with a Freightliner, and he called every shop around, and everybody told him the same thing that I told him. I cannot get to you. If you want it right now, ain't gonna happen. All I can tell you is put her on the hook and tow her to the shop right now, because I mean, I'm by myself, and look at the shop here, and I've got my normal customers. So what I'm telling you, Andrew, is there's plenty of work out there. If you can convince somebody in your area that you're worth the risk. See, that's the thing, is we're taking a huge gamble by taking you on, because people don't stick with it and they quit, you know. And then it really makes us sour on looking at anybody else, because the numbers, you know, there's way more quitters than there are doers. So if you can convince somebody that you're worth the risk of taking you on, that you're not going to quit, that you really want to do this and you really want to stick with it, you want to make the investment in tools and time, and you want to do this, you know, it's a good living. It's hard work, Andrew. It's really hard work. It's hard on your body. If you wind up being independent, like me, it's a lot harder, because, you know, to be honest with you, the guys that are working for somebody else, sometimes I miss those days. Sometimes I miss the days where I could just go in, clock in, I do my 8 or 10 hours, and I'm out of there and I don't give a shit what happens after that. But if you decide that you want to go independent after that, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, you're married to this thing, man. So, anyways, Andrew, if you can convince somebody that you really want to do this and you're worth the risk of them putting time and money into you, teaching you, training you, you know, that's if you were around here, I'd probably put you to work. You know, there's a lot of shops around here that probably put you right to work, but I don't know what your area's like. But I don't know if that's much of an answer to your question. I don't know if you know anybody in your area that you could talk to that's a equipment mechanic that needs help, you know. And the thing, Andrew, is you really got to understand here is you can't go into this. A lot of these kids are coming into this and they want top wages and they want to start out rebuilding engines. Well, that's not the way this works. I started out as a kid washing parts for my dad and my grandpa, and doing simple things like that. Yeah, it makes you get pissed off and you go, well, why am I doing this? But you know what? You start washing them parts and you know what to look for. You know what's bad and what's good, what a good part looks like, what a bad part looks like. You know, you got to start somewhere. You got to eat a little humble pie, and you got to sweep the floor. You got to clean up the shop. You got to do things like that. You know, you got to start somewhere. Everybody thinks they want to start at the top. That's just not the way it works. So that's all I can tell you, Andrew. I hope that, you know, it's a rough go for a while. It really is, doing this trade. So anyways, I don't know if that's much help to you, but I got to get after it here. So I'm just going to unhook her right here, and then I can get this off. Don't get me wrong, I love my crane on my service truck, but doing stuff like this is way quicker. Just grab the forklift and just yard her off of there. A whole lot quicker. I'm trying to get this goofy hose off here right now. Better everything free up with this lower hose ain't wanting to cooperate. Come off of there. Just put a little penetrating oil. Maybe. Stuck on it pretty darn good. There, I think we're all loose with everything now. Alright, let's see if we can get her yarded out of there. We'll put her over here on the counter, wait till the 6170M. And there we go. Make sure that I'm unhooked from everything. No wires or anything. I'm going to jerk out of there and screw up. mounts easier. The least amount of distance possible. I'll probably have to have help or use my crane or something to get it back in here. Actually, this one's not very heavy compared to most seats. That's not too bad, really. Most of those seats are so damn heavy you can't hardly manage them. So, let me find the bolts for the seat, throw them back on the seat. I don't lose those. All that so I can get the floor mat up, and there's a plate in the floorboard that I can take up. And, I can pull this plate up in the floorboard. There's a rubber mat, which I think I might have to pull this cat little skid plate, wear plate here too. Okay, let me get all this stuff out of the way. See what I got to take loose, and then I can get to this. It's a typical international setup. This thing says cat, but it's basically an international is what it is. It's not really a cat. If cat would have done this on their own, they would have done a lot better. Okay, so the fire extinguisher mount will have to come out of there. And then I got to get some little Torx heads here, get this off, and then I can roll this floor mat up, and I can pull it out of my way, at least, or just roll it forward and prop it up or something, and get the floor plate out. And I can start getting stuff. There's a bunch of hoses and crossover lines going to the fuel tanks that are bracketed to the top of the transmission, and they're just impossible to get to without pulling this out. It's about like that DT466 I rebuilt. I couldn't get to anything on the top of that one without pulling the whole floor plate out of the cab. Typical international stuff. Should be used to it by now, huh? I'm having trouble with this snap-on, big snap-on light that my son got me for Christmas. I'm having trouble with it charging. It doesn't want to charge all the time. Gotta sit there and mess with it, mess with it, mess with it. Finally, you almost gotta, I don't know if it's the way it's made, maybe you gotta run it until it's completely dead. I don't know. So down here is where we need to be. I got me a plate here. I'm gonna pull the shift bar housing off. As you can see, they got their fuel crossover lines bolted to the top of the bell housing right there. Got a wire here for something, I'm not sure what this is doing here. Looks like it just loops around and, oh, I see, it's a reverse sender and stuff. That, so that can get unplugged there. And then I can probably cut this tie here, cut this tie, and then figure out where it's they probably got the output shaft speed sensor tied into that as well. So I need to cut those, but let's get the shift bar housing out and get our plate on it to keep the crap out of the transmission. There's a new zip tie. Okay, so what the heck did we do with our... Hang on, guys, I gotta get my other impact. Switch over to that 3/8 gun. 3/8 should take that loose. Might not do it with that with that extension on there, but see what happens here. Oh yeah. I blew the top of the transmission off. This thing goes up in the pumice field, so up in the mountains it gets dirty. Okay. Hitting triggers on the guns here. Okay. Get that out of there. I'll have to get a new shift tower gasket. Which I probably got one somewhere laying somewhere in my junk pile. Another thing I can get to is the clutch fork, or I can really get to it as before. I don't know what size that is, but I can unhook it right there. And you know, that's one thing nice about that this is a C15 block. I think everything basically is gonna bolt up to the B model, I think. I'll have to take a really closer look at the back of the block on the B model. I know the front looks like it's going to work, but I'm thinking this rear structure that's bolted to back of this CT15, I wonder if it'll bolt to the back of the B model, and then these motor mounts will work on here. Because the block should be the same exact length from the B model to this one. So I'll have to look. I don't know for certain on that. That's one of my favorite movies, There Will Be Blood. I don't know about these things, because that movie, Daniel Day-Lewis, man, he did an awesome job in that movie. I don't know about these things. So scratch that whole previous idea about the interchanging or changing the rear structures out. I went home and looked at the B model cat and everything, but it'll bolt up. But the problem is, as I was driving home tonight, I was thinking about this. I was like, that's going to be a huge drawback, just having a set of jakes on a B model cat with a heavy haul truck. You almost got to have a retarder and the jakes on a heavy haul truck if you're using a B model. The B model jakes, they're horrible. I mean, you might as well just drag your leg down the highway. You'd probably slow it down quicker. And the principle of the reason that the jakes don't work is basically because you're using an injection pump, you know. So, anyways, we're going to have to use that retarder on there, which I'm not really sure what I'm going to do there, because those motor mounts on there are pretty unique, let's put it that way. The way they come back, as you can see, they'll kind of come back past the bell housing and kind of swoop around it. It's kind of weird.
But the way they did it, the motor mounts were way back there. The way they are, as you can see right there, they're almost clear back to the. You can see where my impact is right now. They're clear to the back of my impact, to the front of the case of transmission, past the bell housing. So, which means that either I'm going to have to make some unique mounts to mount the actual bell housing that's on there for the retarder. I don't really know what I'm going to do there yet. I guess we'll just I'll get a lot better idea once I get both engines setting side by side, and then I can make a decision as to what I'm going to do. I don't like drilling. Anything I ever try to do on these projects, I really try to refrain from drilling holes in the frame rails. I mean, it just weakens the frames on them. So if you can use original holes in the frame, it's better to do something like that. So I don't know. I guess it's one of those things. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Alright guys, so that's about as far as I'm going to go. I got all the mounts loose. I gotta go to the house and get my big Norco transmission jack. I had a job up there, I used it on, didn't bring it back, and bring it down here and then pull the transmission out, leave it on the jack there, and then we'll grab and I might go ahead and just roll that. Once I get the engine out, I might just go ahead and roll that transmission forward to the front axle right here and just pull it out in case I need my jack again before I get this project done. That's what I might wind up doing. So I got to pull this one fender and do the exhaust and pull that off, and then I'm pretty well ready to, once I get that transmission out of there, we'll ready to pull this one out. I don't think this is going to be near as bad as going the other way, you know, the ones I've done before, because I think most of the stuff on this cat motor is going to just bolt right in. I think you can take this mount here off, and I'll look at that B model real close, but this is a C15 block, and a lot of the stuff was the same. I don't know if they put, because you know the C15 block, but see, these are still SAE bolts. They kept a lot of that stuff the same. Those are SAE. So I think a lot of this stuff's going to be pretty straightforward. This won't be near as bad as going the other way than the other ones I've done. So anyhow, I'm going to switch gears and pull the hood on the 6170M and start tearing the head off of it. I'm trying to remember. I did a rebuild on one of these in a 6170R, and I remember I pulled the engine for some reason, and I don't know why. I know that one dropped the valve, but was there something that I can't remember if I couldn't get the pan off, or I don't remember what the situation was, the reason I wound up. I think I couldn't get the pan off. If I remember right, I don't think I could get the pan off with the... That's what the deal was. I couldn't get the pan off. Now I remember. Something like that. I remember I pulled the engine on that one. Man, what's that? They got a big bolt. They got a big bolt laying in here right up against the oil pan. Look at that. How the hell did they get that in there, I wonder? Huh. You see all kinds of things, don't you? But I remember, I think I had to pull the engine out to do anything with it, because of I couldn't get the pan off or something, if I remember right.